Alright, what's up, Kay? It's your boy Toy Troy from Detroit. We are going to do this. This is my fourth attempt, and hopefully I don't screw this one up. I've got myself some tunes in the background. I'm not streaming to an audience of whoever. And I might actually know what I'm talking about this time. Maybe. I don't know. We'll find out. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to be walking you through some things with Roll20, and hopefully I help. Maybe I don't. I don't know. We're just going. We're just going to make at this point I got to do something. I got to produce something. Okay, so run Roll20, home, games, whatever, create a new game. Boom. We're here. Names, I don't care. Optional. We are going to go with the D&D 5e because that is what we are playing, obviously, and that gives us a character sheet, and I'll walk you through that whole thing in a bit. Okay, so we've got our name, we got all that. I'm ready, create game, and we are in. Okay, so first thing here, invite players. You're going to want to give us this link, and you're going to want to do that first because we'll need to recreate our character sheets, and it's better for us to do this and for you to focus on the game as opposed to anything else. Okay, good. So, launch game. And we're in. Okay, so, the first thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go to our gallery and then my library, and then you'll be able to upload things if you want, because me, CJ, and Tyler have already created tokens. You just click and drag them, and there you go. We have ourselves a token. Now, me as a player, I won't be able to access that yet. I won't be able to move that. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and drag that this one in for later, just so that you can see how much I cannot move that token unless it's been set, and I'll show you how to do that. Now, with that in mind, I'm also going to go ahead and free assets. Premium assets are just things from the store. You'll have a number of free ones just off the bat. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a dark layer. Why not? That is not what I'm looking for. Give me a dungeon tile. Yes, please. I beg of you. And you can scale that how you want, but you'll notice, oh no, I have covered the players. How will they ever succeed this encounter if they are underground? So the way you fix that is you right-click the thing and you put it to the map layer. Boom. Now you'll notice, now that it's on the map layer, you're not able to select that. So what you do is you go up here to this little box, you go to the map layer, and you're now able to move this around. There's also a GM info overlay. And what that is for is, let's go back to, let's do soldiers. Say there's a soldier over here who has a gun for some reason. And he's gonna jump out of this side corridor, but you don't want us to see that yet. Well, that's what the GM info overlay does. Now, when I go to the player view in a minute here, you'll be able to see that I'm not able to see that as a player. There's also a fog of war function. I'm not sure how to activate that, but I know it's there. Okay, so the very next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go to this little newspaper up here that says journal, and you're going to want to hit add, and you're going to want to hit character. You can add in a little picture if you want. You can add in, you can set a default token. I don't know what that does, but we'll find out. Now, the important thing here is in player journals, you want to set all the player tokens to all players so that we're all able to see each other's names. And then editing control, you're going to want to set that specifically to the player who is going to be controlling that token. You're going to be able to edit and control it regardless. You're the DM. Cool. Save changes. If we had set a portrait, it would appear right there. I would recommend setting a portrait, but if not, whatever. And that'll help identify that. It just makes it look a little less barren. Okay. So next thing, character sheet. It's going to pop up with this little icon. It's probably offset on my screen because Chrome acts weird for me. I don't know why. We're not going to want to use a character master because that's basically creating character from scratch, and we already have our stats, so why would we bother? We're going to want to go to edit sheet directly. And the very first thing that we're going to want to do is hit this little cog in the top right here, this one right here. And under role queries, we're going to make it an advantage toggle because by default we always roll with advantage, and that can get confusing. And I don't want there to be an argument over that. Whatever. Now the other thing is whisper roles a GM. Now there are two options here. There's one where there's a toggle just like with advantage, and there's also one where it always whispers the roles. And I'm going to leave that up to your discretion. Whatever. Now, when we get into stats, you'll notice that it automatically sets our modifier both in the main thing as well as the saving throws and the skills. So that removes a lot of typing. Cool, done. What is next? What is next? What is next? Attacks and spellcasting. Okay, so say we got ourselves a nice little dagger here, right? And it's a 1d4. Now, if you leave it just like that, you'll notice that it works fine, actually. Okay. Okay. But it's a finesse weapon, so it's dexterity, and then you can set that to like that, so that there's nothing further modifying this. Because if you were to do like, oh, it's a dexterity weapon, and you'll notice that there's now a +2 there because it's also adding on top of the attack roll. So that's why you're going to want to leave that blank. And the reason it didn't do anything earlier is because right now my strength is a flat 0. Cool. Now, next thing is going to be tools, proficiencies, and all this stuff. So pretty much everything that we have is going to be under other proficiencies and languages. You'll notice that this has languages, weapons, armors, and other. Now, the one thing, what I don't get, and maybe you know better than I do, but obviously here there's an attribute thing to it, and I don't see how any of the attributes that at least I have has any of that. If there's anything that you want to delete, there are a bunch of these little locks. You just hit the lock, and you can rearrange if you have multiple ones, or you can just straight up delete, which is exactly what I'm going to do right here. Okay. Obviously, you've got your things. There is a weight here, but if we're not doing something with weight, there is actually an option in here somewhere. Encumbrance. So you can turn off encumbrance if we're not doing an encumbrance game, and you'll say. It's still showing up. Okay, whatever. Whatever. There's probably an option in here somewhere. I haven't looked through all these options, but they are there, and you're probably going to want to look through them at some point. Obviously, that's also if we're doing a multi-class system, it's there. Now, under class, when you select a class, it'll actually automatically set some things up. Like you notice when I go over to spells now, it automatically sets up my spellcasting ability as charisma. As well as my saving throws. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Okay, so I think that pretty much covers it. Oh, I forgot to mention. One of the cool things about Roll20 is, say I want to make an attack with my dagger. If I just click on that, it'll automatically roll for me. So you notice I missed that. That did not work, but that one hit pretty well. So I just hit on the damage, and I did 1 damage. Oh boy. That was a very effective attack. Okay, so the next thing is going to be spells. Now, there are 2 ways that you do spells. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is, say it's a defense spell. And it's got your description, you're at higher levels, your casting time, whatever. Alright, so when I click on this one, all it does is it prints all that information. It'll ask me what level to cast that. It'll just print all that information out. But the other way you can actually do it is to set it up as an attack. So I probably should name that. Probably should have named that Protect, but whatever. It's too late now. So under Output, if you set that to Attack, it gives you this dialogue instead. So let's say it's a 1d6, and let's say that. Actually, we'll just do a 1d6 for now. And it has this little description, whatever. So now when I do that, it'll give me a damage output. Now, obviously, at first, there's probably some way to set it up that I'm just missing right now because I'm just trying to get this over with at this point. But basically, yeah. So for that, we could just be like, oh, I want to do a charisma roll, and I do a charisma roll, and it is a 12. So then I would hit I'll hit that attack, and then boom, that was 3 damage. Cool. Now, in some cases, like I know I have one that's called Ice Knife, and the way that Ice Knife works is it does like 1d6 cold damage or piercing damage. You throw a knife, and then it'll do 2d6 of cold damage because it explodes, hit or miss. Because one of those is a single target, and the other one of those is an AOE. I'd have something I would have the description down, which would basically say, "Oh, you throw knife. It pierce or no. and then explode. All right, cool. Now I'm gonna want that in there. So that's when I would say this is also a ranged attack. So boom. So if I set that to partial, you'll notice that it only tells me, oh, it's a ranged spell attack. Well, that's a whole bunch of help. But if I do a on there, that then becomes a it'll actually show you the description that I just wrote out there. Cool. I think I skipped over. Okay, so I did skip over something, and I might splice this in later. Okay, so under the options here, this is very important actually. If you hit that little options cog, whatever, you'll get this little dialogue here. You're gonna want to set represents character to whatever character that is. Now, if you remember, we already set that up so that me as a player is connected to this to that character. So now when I go over to the player version, the player view, I'll be able to control that token fine. Cool. Now I can set up to show nameplate. I can set a nickname. And there's also a really cool feature with bars here. So we can say that's a bar, and I think there's actually a thing where that'll probably show up. HP, please? No? No? Okay, well, I'm just gonna go ahead and turn that back off then. But basically, if I have 10 hit points and 10 hit points, that's now a bar. Cool. Now, say I take damage. 3. And another thing you can do is actually, if you just click here, you can also set that to whatever. Cool. So we got ourselves a health bar, we got ourselves a nameplate, and I am now going to go ahead over into the player view. Okay, I'm now in the player view. So, this is my character portrait, obviously. I'm able to move this around, but you'll notice I'm not able to move this one around. And our little gunman is also missing. I can't see him because he's in the GM layer. But you're obviously able to just right-click that character and put in the object layer so that we can see it once that time comes. And you'll also notice that under character sheet, I'm actually able to edit my own stats because we already set that up. Now, one more thing is, where is it? Oh, okay, so down here at the bottom, obviously I got my OOC, so that's my OOC, and then I've got my IC, and that's another character entirely. And that's actually where the portrait comes in. If I had set up a portrait for that character, you would be seeing the portrait there as opposed to the nothing. And yeah, I believe that just about does it. The only other thing I can think of is whisper. Can I even /whisper? Please? No? There is a way to whisper. I'm just not remembering at the moment, but I'm sure that Tyler can help with that one. And yeah, I believe that does it actually. There's a jukebox, but that works. Oh yeah, and there's also and then also one more note is that under this little eye here, there's actually a whole bunch of information. So say I want information on a druid, there's information on a druid, which is also very helpful. Yeah, you can change your name, and I think that, but I basically think that that's it. I can't think of anything else. Yeah, cool. So yeah, I hope I helped. If not, well, I'm just done at this point. So have a good one.